Welcome to the Freedom Unchained channel. Jeremy Boring lays out a damning argument about why you don't want to have a weak leader at the helm. And if you haven't voted yet, this might be the reason why you don't want to vote in the weakest of the two. Let alone, they're the stupidest. I believe they're probably brain dead. Do you know who I'm talking about? It could lead to the destruction of many nations.
There's another piece, though, to the story. We're talking about what happens if Donald Trump gets elected. The question was, what happens either way?
Oh, my God.
So I want to speak for a moment about what happens if Kamala Harris becomes president. This will be the least popular thing I've ever said with a camera pointed at me. But the world is run by strong men who do not respect women. And if you're going to ascend to the helm of the world's last remaining superpower, not only a woman, but a vacuous, vapid, perpetually stoned woman, you are actually inviting war.
Yeah.
What our enemies do not share these sort of Western liberal values about equality and respect for women, and even all the way to gender confusion. Like, we have some ideas that are pretty novel in this society, and we don't treat them like novel ideas. We think that they're somehow universally accepted ideas. The Chinese don't believe that a woman can run a superpower. Vladimir Putin doesn't believe that a woman can run a superpower. The Iranians don't believe that a woman can actually function. They don't believe a woman can drive. You know, the Iranians aren't wrong about everything. I mean, that's the point. And they're going to test the first female president. Now, this would be true no matter who the first female president is. If America makes the decision that we should ascend a woman to the presidency, part of what is intrinsic to that decision, even if we don't acknowledge it to ourselves, is that we're inviting tests on the world stage from hostile actors. We may conclude that it's worth those tests in order to live in accordance with these values that we have. But my question is it worth being tested for this woman who actually isn't strong, who isn't capable of facing down these threats? You know, at least with Hillary Clinton, who I don't think could have faced down the threats either, but at least she was a tough old battle axe. At least she had been Secretary of State. At least she had actually sat across the table from these people and won in negotiations with them. At least her husband had been president, had deployed the U.S. military to some effect in Europe and in Iraq. But Kamala Harris does not instill fear in anyone, and fear is part of what makes a foreign policy work. To your point, Ben, our enemies were afraid of Donald Trump. They weren't afraid that Donald Trump was the great general. They were afraid that he might do it. And that enough when you sit at the helm of a superpower. And there was an interesting debate after 9/11. And the debate was, what would have happened if Al Gore had been president? And I cannot remember who wrote this because I was in my early 20s, so I don't remember the publication. But I read a great story or a great essay about that basically postulated that perhaps Al Gore would have used nuclear weapons. And everybody was kind of shocked. Like, what do you mean Al Gore would have used nuclear weapons? And the logic was Al Gore was widely perceived as being weak. George W. Bush was widely considered strong. His father had been the head of the CIA, vice president under Ronald Reagan, had led the greatest military victory in America, the fastest military victory over a major military in Iraq that had ever happened up until that point. Iraq had the fourth largest military in the world in the 1990s. So Bush was perceived as strong. Gore was perceived as weak. And what the thought experiment said is, when the exact same event happens to a weak man in the presidency that happens to a strong man, it's not that the weak man surrenders, it's that the weak man overreacts. Because the weak man's weakness is being blamed for the event. And so he has to show that he's strong, but he doesn't know what strength is. So he gives a caricature of strength. And that's what I fear will happen under Kamala Harris. She will be tested on the basis of her weakness. And she will respond with a caricature of what she believes that strength looks like, which will be an overcommitting of our forces, an overcommitting of our obligations around the world. And the world will become a much deadlier and much less safe place under Kamala Harris.
I guess this is why they say women leaders start the most wars. It's probably because they're fundamentally the weakest. And I guess it's the same about weak men. They also start the most wars. Barack Obama, Joe Biden. I don't even know if Barack Obama is really a man. Look at his partner. Who do you think is wearing the pants in that relationship?
How big Michelle Obama truly is, dude. Tell me that's not normal. Oh my God. And they're standing side by side.
Man, that's a huge bitch. I wonder why. So this is a scary thing to think about. if Kamala Harris becomes president, because she is probably the weakest politician we know. We don't know how she got here. Well, I do. I think most of us do. She's a deep state puppet. She's been implemented. She didn't even get one vote to get her here. But all of a sudden, she's the most popular vice president in the world after she was the least popular vice president. Sorry, I mean the most popular candidate after being the least popular vice president. So if the brain-dead Biden allowed this many wars to start, how many wars do you think Kamala's just going to start to make herself look more powerful? I don't think we want to find that out. That's all I really wanted to show you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please smash the like button. Please comment. Let's get a conversation started. Share this video around. And until next time, like always, I'm going to leave you guys in the love and the light of the one infinite creator. Peace.